Welcome back to my studio. Today we're going to try to figure out what kind of stand options we have for DSLR scanning. As I've mentioned before, my flatbed scanner's not doing so hot. It's older. I got a new iMac and it does plug into it with the right USB adapters, and who knows how long it's going to survive. And not everything is worthy of firing up the drum scanner because that's a huge hassle. So that's like reserved for exhibition stuff. So that means getting my negatives on to the internet for whatever reason is going to come down to DSLR scanning pretty much most of the time. I think I'll probably still use the flatbed for like important things, but for the most part, it's just putting it online. So I've got the Veloy 360 set up to hold the film, and it's a good system. I like it quite a bit. We're going to break kind of my journey in finding the right stuff down into the different bits and pieces. So originally with DSLR scanning, what I was using for this was just a negative carrier for my enlarger. So I ended up changing to the Veloy system. They were kind enough to send me a set to review, and I got to keep it. So that was nice. That did save me a little bit of money, but otherwise I was already looking at buying one because they are pretty good and pretty versatile. So beyond that, it comes down to a few other things. The light source, we're going to look at that in a separate video. The kinds of lenses available and options for that, we'll look at that in a separate video. But today we're going to look at ways to hold the camera steady. And I've got a few different options that we're going to look through and kind of decide what's going to be the best for me. And then, of course, might give you ideas on what might be best for you. This is by no means going to tell you what you should do, but it might give you ideas. So right here, what I have set up, and it's probably pretty common for a lot of you, is just a tripod. Now this is a small little tripod. It only gets up to about 60 inches tall at its highest, and it's meant for video work mostly. That's what I got it for. In fact, this camera, it's holding it, but I would say it's probably pretty heavy for this tripod. But this is just a Manfrotto element, whatever they call it, I don't even know. But this works. It holds the camera. It makes it point straight down. The legs do start to get in the way of the holder, so that would not be a good option for me. However, there are tripods where the column can be horizontal, and that could hold it out further. I also could make the legs stand up higher, but the column here doesn't go down. It only goes up. So other shapes of tripod may work better. And if you're already shooting, you may have a tripod. That may work well for you. The problem with it is, as I said here, I can't get this in close enough to the lens. That's more of a design of the head and everything like that. The other issue is you have to set it up every time. So if I take the camera off, I take the tripod out and I go shooting, I'm going to be moving the head. So then when I come back, I'm going to have to go through all the work to get it the right height, the correct level, both front to back and side to side. And those might be problems. It's not impossible. It's tedious. It's work that you have to do every time. And you may not want to do that. You may not have time for that. It depends on how much you have to shoot. So while this works, for me, this would be like last ditch effort. I just don't have anything else. But may not be the same situation for you. So let's put this away and look at the next option. What I have here is simply a Manfrotto rod. I think there's just a light stand extension or portable light stand. I don't know what they call it. But it's got a brass stud on one end and then one on the other. Then I've got a clamp, and this is either Manfrotto or Impact brand, but it's just a little studio clamp for light stands. Okay, just like that. So it's on the column. Brass stud that's 3/8 on one side, quarter on the other, and it's just attached to an inexpensive ball head. I get these off eBay. They're $20 a piece. They're the Manbilly brand that I reviewed a while back, but this is a step up from the one I reviewed, though it's the same price. These are much, much better than the ones I reviewed. So they're pretty good. So take that, right? Clamp on here, attach that. Sorry for thumping on the table with the microphone. And that's it. So now we just have to get it vertical. And for that, you can do a couple of different things. One would be, well, you could do another clamp like this if you wanted to, or maybe a super clamp. Yeah, put it on this side. Sorry, left-handed, so it's natural for me to go this way. There we go. It is now attached. It is now on there. That underneath. Done. So I can just have all this stuff, take it off the table when I need to use the table for other things. Otherwise, I can leave everything exactly as is, and it'll always be set up. As long as it's a spare ball head and I don't need to move, all this stuff is spare, then it's good. Even if I do have to move it, the only thing I'd have to level would be this, where the stud goes into the clamp. But if it's all spare stuff, or I buy it specifically for this, I don't have to change it every time. I can leave it as is and just take it off the table and put this away when I'm done. That's it. That's all I would need. Now, price-wise, I mean, it adds up. So if you go to B&H, you can find how much this stuff is. I think this is $20. I think this is $35, and I think this is like $11, and then this was $20. So if I'm wrong about that, I'll put prices up. So let's see: super clamp, extension, little clamp, stud, ball head. Prices. Okay. Now, say you don't want the table clamp. The other option would be one of these. And this would just set the whole thing up like this. Now it's on the table, got this underneath, got the camera, and it's done. So you can factor in that instead of the clamp as the price. And again, this usually will come as a set. So that may, if you decide to go this route, you could buy these two together, then the clamp, the stud, the ball head, and you've got a complete set. So not a bad way to go, especially if you can get it dedicated and you never have to move any part of it. But otherwise, it may work better than a tripod. And maybe more affordable. That tripod was $120. So granted, if you're buying the tripod solely for this, not a good deal. If you're buying the tripod for your other cameras, then that cost kind of gets spread out. But it's something to consider. Okay, now I've got another kind of sort of option like this. Let's take a look at that. And this one would be kind of like what you can get from Negative Supply. Negative Supply makes a stand. It's $180, I believe, and it is aluminum T-slot, just like this. You can get a piece of 1-inch or Series 10 aluminum T-slot from sites like 8020.net for very, very little. Just a few dollars plus shipping. You might even find some locally. Metal Supermarket sells it. It's a little higher priced, but it's local to a lot of places. And then there are other things. I found a commercial plumbing supply place that carried it in stock. So there's a lot of shopping around. You might even be able to find it on Amazon or something like that. But Series 10 is what you want. It's the 1-inch. You don't need the bigger Series 15 or anything like that. There is a smaller series that's 3/4 inch. I want to say it's maybe series 20, I think. It might be 20 because that's more of a millimeter size. But look around. Anyway, you can get some of this plus the bolts and pieces and make exactly what Negative Supply sells. It's just a vertical piece connected to a horizontal, connected to more horizontal, and there you go. Here, all I have is just a piece. This is from another project I have working on. The great thing about the Series 10 is there's a hole in the middle. And that hole is exactly the right size for you in order to be able to thread it to 1/4 20. That's what it's intended for. It doesn't come threaded, but you might, depending on where you get it, have them thread it for you. I did. 8020.net threaded that for me when I ordered it. It's a small service fee, but it's not much. So I took a brass stud from B&H and screwed it in. Then you can attach your clamp one more time. Just put it in there. There you go. This ball head is attached with a 1/4 inch bolt. Now there are different kinds of bolts that can be used for this. A carriage bolt, which is a bolt with a square piece, would slide down the slot and then not twist, so you can just attach the ball head and you're done. Then if you need to raise it or lower it for different size film, you can loosen this, slide it up or down and tighten it. You can get real fancy with this stuff. You can get a separate piece that has little plastic bushings and slides up and down and has locking knobs and whatever you want to be willing to spend for. There's parts to do this. But this is very, very simple. This is only a few dollars, plus the ball head, plus the stud, plus the clamp. Very inexpensive. So that would work as well. Or you can make this a stand with a crossbar and 2 feet, or you can just get a piece of plywood or MDF, put a hole through the bottom, and use a 1/4 20 bolt up through that baseboard into the column, and you now have a freestanding unit with a baseboard. Put this on it, put your camera, and you're good to go. That would also work as a kind of a permanent solution. So that might be something you want to consider. And again, it's not very expensive. In fact, this, of course, we'll put the prices up for the vertical upright, the stud, the clamp, and the ball head for you to compare. And you can go from there, as I said, should you decide to get vertical sliding pieces or different attachments or anything like that you would like. And you can compare those prices. And then there's the last option, and this is the one that I've actually opted for because it's ready-made. And that is this right here. This is a Durst M301 enlarger. I bought this, it's a 35mm enlarger. I bought it to do a enlarger alignment video. I still have yet to film it, but this is what I got it for. And the great thing about this enlarger is this big black knob right here is a 3/8 inch bolt to attach the head with the light source and the lens. And you just take it off. Then I attach the ball head in its place. So it's the column and the baseboard of the enlarger plus a ball head. And that's it. Now I can raise this up or down as needed, loosen this, raise it up and down as needed, and of course have this underneath. And it's got the baseboard, it has the column. If I didn't have this, I would use the extruded aluminum T-slot and I would make something. In fact, I did right there. I made it. All I would need to do from there is figure out a way to move my ball head up and down easily. Right now it's not easy with that carriage bolt. So that I can change from 35mm to medium format because they do require different distances. If I only shot one format, I wouldn't even need to worry about that. The T-slot aluminum, once I get that ball head the right height for the lens, focal length, and distance and framing, it's done. you don't need to move it at all. But with something like this, I can use the ball head to align everything, and it's easy. This was inexpensive. Granted, I got lucky. This was an eBay purchase, complete enlarger, and I think I paid $20 plus shipping. Maybe not even that. They're not always that inexpensive. I think I just got lucky at the time that I got it. But it is a nice ready-made solution, and it makes a great little copy stand. So this is what I use simply because I can just leave it as is. Just take the camera off, leave the ball head on there, leave everything else on there, just set it aside, bring it out when I need it. But there are other options if you're still looking for something. Either you're on a budget or you need to move things around and keep something semi-permanent. Hopefully these will give you different options to think about. So next time we visit this subject, might be next week, might be in a month, might be a year, I don't know. Hopefully next week, we're going to look at different lens options, and we're going to compare different types of lenses in order to find the best one for my negatives so that I can figure out what I want to use for the system as I build it out and get a system completed. So thanks for going on this journey with me. We'll continue this as we can get the stuff to do it, and we will see you next time.